Okay.
Wait, where's my screen? Okay, there's my screen. The recording is confusing.
Are you recording?
Yes, we're recording.
Do you want to like introduce the concept of this, or should I?
I think you should. I think you know the concept better than I.
Awesome. Okay, welcome, viewers, strangers via the internet, human beings or non-human beings. We don't judge. This is Dungeon and Chill, and before people get annoyed in the YouTube comments, I recognize that technically this isn't a dungeon, but you get the idea. So what we're going to do is we're going to be talking over this game while we play it. I'll just be following Francisco, my wizardly friend here, and we'll fight monsters together while we talk about Overwatch. We're going to talk about like video game related things or possibly eventually non-video game related things. We'll find out, you know? It's a new show, it's a new segment, new all that shit. We'll figure it out as we go along. Excuse the background Portuguese. I guess Francisco had to talk to his mom or something.
It was my dad. Don't
Ooh,
judge.
well, I don't judge. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about Overwatch and how it's a diverse game. One of these, you know, diverse games that people have been begging for a little while. And this happened because I watched a YouTube video called "Diverse Games Suck," where this guy completely fails to give reasons why diverse games suck, and it made me really want to talk about Overwatch, which is a diverse game that definitely doesn't suck. And also, something I kind of wanted to focus on is why it doesn't have any African heroes, and if that's kind of a problem. Anyway, Francisco, you can just lead the way in this game, and I'll just like fight with you.
Let's kill the scorpions.
Yeah. Yes, let's kill the scorpions. Let's also kill the scorpions of prejudice in Overwatch.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to mention is there's a. I really like Overwatch, and the reason I bought Overwatch is because it was so freaking diverse. It had a lot of goodwill. It got a lot of goodwill out of me. I, I never bought any Blizzard games. I never liked any Blizzard games. I never liked World of Warcraft. I never liked Diablo or anything like that. Because they tend to feel slippery and weird when you play them, and I don't like slippery, weird feeling games. I care a lot about game feel.
Cool.
So yeah, once I saw there was a Brazilian character in Overwatch, I actually just bought the game. Like no questions asked.
And I think that kind of emphasizes the thing that people have been saying for years, which is that diverse games with a diverse cast would make more money than the standard like AAA shooter where it's all just the same buff white dude copy pasted like 6 times.
Yeah.
Because you know, Francisco is Brazilian. If you couldn't tell by the fact that he speaks Portuguese, the language that is not called Brazilian, and like he said, he joined the game because like he was interested in the game because he saw like, holy crap, there's a character in here who is Brazilian and I identify with that, and that's really cool, and then he bought the game. And so I think that you can like, I kind of want to say like, oh my god, look at what an amazing company Blizzard is, that they're like fighting the, you know, social justice fight in the realm of video games, which is, you know, pretty rare thing to see. But actually, I think there's an argument to be made that they just did it for like purely economic reasons, that like they thought they would make more money if they included a diverse cast, and so they did that. And I think that kind of starts to get into the issue of there not being any African characters, because realistically, there's not as many people playing video games in Africa as there are in, you know, South America and North America and other Americas and Europe and stuff, and and other America like Europe. So I don't know. I really think that they should include African characters.
Yeah, it's considering it's one of the largest regions of the entire world. But the
Yeah, but I mean, it's not one of the largest regions. Oh, and just so that people don't get pissed off in the comments, yes, I recognize that Symmetra is Egyptian, but come on, that doesn't count, okay?
don't you mean Pharaoh?
Egypt is a part of Africa, but I'm mainly talking about like sub-Saharan Africa here. Like honestly, I think it would be really cool to see like an Ethiopian character or like a Congolese character.
Yeah, or a Nigerian character.
Yes.
I had a Nigerian teacher once. He was really funny.
Yeah, I had a Swazi teacher. He was cool.
Yeah. it was he also happened to be my English teacher in Brazil, and
Cool.
he speak really good English. You know, they're like, but he spoke really funny Portuguese, and well, that's that really. He was a really cool guy.
Yeah. I mean, my Swazi teacher, he spoke his native language was English because like Siswati is not a super useful language.
I already died.
No, that makes me really sad. Okay, I'll move back to spawn, and then I'll just like jump in the way of bullets from now on, so that you don't die. I don't know where spawn is. What's that weird fapping noise in the background?
It's a washing machine. Sorry, guys.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's fine. It gives the game kind of a rhythm to it, you know? It's like a funky dance beat.
Yeah, totes. So, are you gonna be at the main gathering hall of heroes?
No, I'm gonna be same server. You can just like burrow up and try to find me. I don't know where the center of the server is though.
Okay, so
I'm walking around the wilderness without a friend to discuss Overwatch with.
okay, so I got back to the Medusa place, which is where we went to.
Yeah,
And
okay.
I'm gonna go after a bandit leader. Anyway, so Overwatch.
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason actually that I think that they maybe don't have so many African characters is that Africa just doesn't really like Overwatch is being made by Western European game devs, and for European game developers, Africa just doesn't really like spark the romantic imagination because our like dominant cultural narrative about Africa is that it's basically like a lost continent. Like it doesn't have any history and nothing interesting happens there except for modern humanitarian tragedies. I don't think that Ebola Man would do so well in Overwatch. They finally come out with an African hero. It's super racist.
Yeah, I know, but they do. But I have it in good faith that they might do that in the future. They just didn't do it straight up. I have. I don't know. I feel like they did it with like the major gaming populations, you know, because Brazil
Yeah, that's true.
does have like a lot a huge following in World of Warcraft. There's a ton of Brazilians playing World of Warcraft. And then so the same way there are tons and tons and tons of Koreans and
Man,
Chinese people.
there's a ton of Brazilians playing everything. Y'all just keep having sex and nerds just keep happening.
Yeah, like I told you the other day that Brazil happens to be the #1 country for Counter Strike.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got really happy about that.
that's kind of scary. I don't know why, but it feels scary. Like they're practicing, you know.
Okay, that's kind
are
of
you a secret? Are you a secret agent, Francisco?
totally. I know 5 different martial arts, and am fluent.
Is
In...
it like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Kung Fu, Brazilian Krav Maga?
Yeah, capoeira. Everybody talks about
Cool.
jiu-jitsu, but no one talks about capoeira, which is weird. Do you know what capoeira is?
I do not.
So capoeira, and now we're going to the Brazilian variety hour. Capoeira is a martial art that was pretty much inspired by it's a form of self-defense the slaves created in Brazil. I'm not super expert on this, by the way. Don't kill me if I don't say something like not super exact. But yeah, it was a form of self protection that slaves would that the Brazilian slaves would, mostly African Brazilian slaves would learn in order to be able to defend themselves in a dire situation, because they actually weren't allowed to do martial arts.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah, so what happens is that capoeira kind of looks like dancing because there's a dancing element to it. So they kind of got away with that. So because they don't ever, there's usually a guy with an instrument going singing a song while the other guys are like dueling their hearts out. And while all the attacks they do are deadly, but the point is to follow the rhythm and to not kill each other.
That's cool.
So they do all sorts of crazy acrobatics, and it's really cool. But they don't. But they always they always manage to dodge each other. So it's actually there's actually I forgot the name of I forgot the name specifically, but there's actually a point where many slave fugitives started creating like their own communities, which were really diverse, and they were like a safe haven for outcast ethnicities and religions in Brazil,
Cool.
and they were really hard to take down because they were huge badasses in the battlefield. Because they had like weird for the Portuguese. They were really weird tactics of like uh, of battle that were based around songs and capoeira, you know. So they would keep winning because they were just
Because the Portuguese just didn't get what was happening.
yeah, because they were like too ignorant to learn about the cultures they were colonizing.
Yeah, fucking colonization.
And also stripping away.
Colonizationists.
Yeah, and it's also really weird that so yeah, capoeira is really badass. I think it's also really cool.
Yeah, it sounds really badass.
It makes
I
me
think
kind of sad that the main representative of Street Fighter is the person who does jiu-jitsu and not necessarily capoeira. But jiu-jitsu is also cool, I guess.
makes me sad. Yeah, and I think so. I think part of the reason that we didn't segue to get back semi on topic. Part of the reason I think that we didn't have that we don't have so many diverse characters is because no one knows about stuff like that. Like that's freaking awesome, and I think that would be a really cool basis for some characters in video games. But it's just that the like white Western game designers who build these things aren't familiar with capoeira.
Yeah, I think it's really a matter. I think it's really a matter of like an economic situation because currently the U.S. is like being heck of imperious and doing lots of dirty things outside their own shores. And I don't mean that in a bad manner. It's just a fact. Like Clinton oversaw a coup, and don't quote me on this, but it was a coup. I believe it was
I'm gonna quote the hell out of you. I'm gonna quote you all day, every day, forever, for the rest of my life.
But apparently, she oversaw a coup in Cambodia, and that's awful. Like Brazil just recently underwent a coup, which is they illegitimately uh, impeached the president on no solid basis, and it is suspected that the United States government had some involvement in that action. So that really sucks.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up.
But you know that I went to political. I went through political stuff for a while, but there was a point to this. I promise. Um, the reason that there aren't as many diverse places to go to in like video games, for example, and just like white man towns, because a lot of the developers actually making the game, and a lot of are white male people, even though the audience isn't.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a space for cultural development in games, like support from the government, maybe, or just like.
You mean we need like you're saying we need more diverse game developers, and then we'll.
Yeah, because we already have a diverse audience, you know.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see more Brazilian media with Brazilian people in mind, you know, about capoeira and all that stuff, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. I also think, I mean, one thing that I believe is that it doesn't necessarily, like, inspiration doesn't necessarily have to be determined by the market.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's plenty of really badass stuff that comes from that comes from cultures that are not dominant within the world. Like I told you, I had a Swazi teacher, and he was my anthropology teacher, and we studied plenty. We studied plenty of fringe cultures with really badass warrior, like really badass warrior cultures. I mean, they're not really warrior cultures today because Swaziland doesn't often have to use its military to do anything. But I really think that those types of cultural traditions could be represented in games, and it would be really cool for people, even though there's not more than like 2 million Swazis in the world.
Yeah.
Like I think the fact of capoeira is cool to people, is like interesting to people who are not just Brazilian.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't know. It's interesting to me, and I'm about as far away from being Brazilian as one could possibly get.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Maybe I'll post edit some videos on top of this conversation so you guys can see like how
Yes, you
capoeira
should do
looks
that.
like.
Oh my god, you should do that.
I find that a lot of shows that I like have a lot of cultural depth in them, and that's really interesting. I really like Steven Universe for that reason. And Steven Universe is another awesome thing. It's not necessarily a video game, but it's media, so it counts. So Steven Universe has like a majority. The main cast is majority female, of course. Like all the gems are female, and not only that, there are females of a wide variety of body types and a wide variety of ethnicities. Like Garnet looks like a proud black independent woman, and it's not just that makes it cool, but like the way they also like stray away from like the typical family structures. Like, oh, there's a father and a mother and they love their child very much. It's like in Steven's case, he has like 5 different moms and then a dad. And it's unsure whether these moms are like romantically involved with each other or not. And
Yeah.
it's a cartoon show, it's a kids show, and it's totally okay, and it's totally in support of all of like love and caring in the world. It's awesome. And it kind of follows that trend. Like it does. There's a variety of a variety of like a varied cast of characters, and it's set in Mexico. It's in the game. It's called Water Mexico, but it's set in Mexico.
That's cool.
And yeah, it's just awesome. Go watch it. It's also really good on a technical level, so it's not just like, oh, there's a variety of characters, but it's not like they know what they're doing. They do know what they're doing. It's awesome. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that diversity adds to a game, even if you're not looking specifically for diversity. Like, honestly, so I think if you can imagine like a different version of Overwatch where it's all just like white people.
You mean Team Fortress 2?
Oh my god, no. Holy crap, Francisco, you're right. I almost just shit on Team Fortress 2. Do you know what would have happened if I had just shit on Team Fortress 2?
What? Oh, the
fanboys from all over the internet would have descended upon me. This D-rate YouTube show would have suddenly become super popular. And actually, this sounds awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and shit on Team Fortress 2. So I think Team Fortress 2 suffers a lot compared to Overwatch because it's just white people, and it feels really very, very samey.
Okay, there's one black male,
there's one black male.
Yeah.
I mean, they go for the diversity thing, but they honestly like there are people from I kind of implied that they don't, but they totally do. Actually, I don't think I implied it. I think I just straight up said it.
Yeah, they don't.
But anyway, they go for the diversity thing, but they don't pursue it as strongly as Overwatch does. And I think part of that is that Overwatch has much more like colorful characters. than Team Fortress 2, so they're allowed to emphasize diversity. And I think that diversity is improved by having people from all corners of the world, and by like it just makes people feel more different, which is kind of something that people want when you have a game with like 21 characters in it, and
Yeah,
you need to like distinguish between them.
yeah. It also just gives more stuff to draw from in terms of like character design and how to how to make different playstyles different. It's like if Genji wasn't a ninja, it would be like really abstract. Like, oh, it's a guy and he's also really acrobatic, but he also shoots like dagger stuff. You know.
Yeah,
But no, he's just a ninja. Of course, he would do stuff and also have a sword. It's like, duh. It's like the same for a lot of other characters. Just like, yeah, of course the guy with the bow is gonna be able to do all those crazy stunts because he's the guy with the bow, and you know, um,
yeah.
it's like just drawing inspiration from outside of your own culture just gives you more stuff to play with than it's like I don't know, the typical American cowboy or the soldier or
The typical American McCree.
yeah. Yeah, he does appear in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that he's there, but I'm also glad that this is not a game where there's just McCree and it's like, do you want to play McCree or do you want to go away?
Yeah. Um, that's another thing. Like, it's a game. Overwatch is kind of like Team Fortress 2. It draws inspiration from Team Fortress 2 in many aspects, and I like Overwatch a lot better. Sorry, guys, but
Yeah,
one of them is clearly is like I don't know. It just catches my attention a lot better, and it's like
I could never really get into Team Fortress, but Overwatch is very exciting to me.
yeah, it just
Honestly, I really want. There's like a part of me that really wants to attribute Overwatch's success to the diversity, and I think that's part of it. But honestly, I think it's just a really well designed game, and I
yeah.
think that diverse. It's just also diverse in there. It
Yeah,
also has some diversity.
yeah, just like adding diversity by itself isn't gonna do much because it can be really
By the way,
diverse.
are you coming back to the same server? I saw that you died.
Well, I died, and then I started looking for you, and I started following a path and killing bunnies, and I know you're somewhere out there.
Mm.
It's really
Okay,
hard
I'll
to.
try to find you as well.
This game is kind of annoying that it's really hard to find people once you lose them,
Yeah. Yep.
which renders the multiplayer aspect of
Did
the
you
game kind of.
did you go north or south? Or east or west? I guess there are other
Dude,
directions.
I don't even know anymore. I can't scroll the map to see where I am.
Okay. No, you can zoom it out.
Okay, I've gone mostly west and then north and then a little bit east.
Okay, cool. I will go in that direction then. And hope to find you. But anyway, Overwatch. So, crap, what was I saying? Oh, so I think that the game would improve a lot by having, well, not maybe a lot, but it would improve some by including more African characters. And I also think that it would have a good cultural influence because it goes both ways, right? Like games are influenced by culture, like they exist in a cultural context and can take advantage of that to like be good games or make money or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they also are culture itself. Like they can influence culture in positive or negative ways. And I think that it would have a very positive cultural influence if Africans were represented more thoroughly in Overwatch. It would say like, look, this is like it's a real part of the world. It exists, guys, and now it is represented in video games.
Yeah, yeah. They're gonna release more characters, so I'm hoping for that. I'm really hoping for more variety.
Seriously,
Yeah.
they need some defense characters. So I don't know. Maybe if someone from Overwatch is watching this, what do you think would be a good like not defense support? What do you think would be a good like support African character? I
So
don't know enough about African history to answer that question thoroughly.
I don't know, man. I can only talk about Brazilian stuff because there's a lot of stuff in Brazil.
Yeah, I think seeing some. The other thing is that I think that they have the chance to like kind of comment on like represent a lot of different cultures. Like I would really like to see a series character. I think that'd be cool.
Hmm. I actually don't know. I actually don't know. We're harping on about like we should probably include African people, and then it's like, damn, I don't know that much about Africa.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the one of the problems. So I mentioned earlier that people say that like Africa, people kind of imply that Africa doesn't have history.
Mm-hmm.
And there is an issue, which is that like Africa as a continent generally has less writing before like 300 years ago than like Europe or Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to know, except for Egypt, which is why we like Egypt so much, because Egypt had writing like 2,000 years ago.
Uh-huh.
But I read this somewhere that we know more about Egypt from 2,000 years ago than we know about Congo from 300 years ago. And I think that's partially because, oh my god, I'm getting so mobbed. It's partially because of the writing issue, that history is based in writing, and there's not a lot of written history in Africa as compared to like in Europe or Asia.
I'm pretty sure if an expert ever sees this, they will be ready to shoot down this argument and be like, wait a minute, there's like 355 different instances of writing before 300 years ago.
No, I'm not saying that there's none.
Mm-hmm.
I do actually occasionally know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that there's none. It's just that it's less common to encounter societies that had writing that have like 300-year-old written histories in Africa than it is to encounter them in Asia, for example.
That's true, I guess. I don't know much about it. But but there's also like the point to be made that like we should I actually don't know like where I can say about it, because if I could say anything right now, I wouldn't know like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing is that you shouldn't be afraid to not be able to like substantiate your thing with evidence. And if you encounter evidence, like just because you don't have enough information to be sure that what you're saying makes sense doesn't mean that you should just not have an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of dumb. People have plenty of opinions about things that they don't know about. For example, politics. Most people who talk about politics are not political science majors, and yet they talk about it anyway. And that is just fine with me.
All right.
And so I don't think you need to necessarily know all that much about African history to be able to just like talk about it.
I don't know. For this, I'll drop on like personal experience. A lot of people think whenever I talk to people about being like in Brazil, they're like, oh man, do you like live in
Oh, God.
trees or whatever? Do you live in the Indians, and do you like actively help protect the rainforest by shooting at people at industrialists with arrows or stuff? It's like, no, I live in the city, just like you. I I sit I spent all my time on the internet, just like you probably. It's like there's not that much difference between like what Brazilians do and what like people in first world countries do. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like I imagine there's a lot of that with Africans as well.
Yeah, I'd assume so.
So like there's a lot of people who are like, oh man, these poor Africans, they can't even like tie their shoes right. It's like, yeah, they probably can. You don't know shit, you know?
Yeah, and I think part of it is that Actually, I started that sentence, but I didn't know what I was gonna say. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it's something that kind of like substantiates the claim that we, as a culture, don't have enough information at hand about Africa to like make it a part of our games and stuff. Is that we keep referring to it as just Africa.
Yeah.
We'll say Africa when in fact there's like a huge amount of diversity. Like I wouldn't say like, oh man, we should have some more Asian characters, because for you anyway, there is an important distinction to be made between Zarya, who is Russian and an Asian character, and Mei, who is Chinese and also an Asian character. And there is, I think, that level of diversity in Africa. It's just that we don't recognize it.
Yeah. I agree.
Cool. So Blizzard, this just turned into an open letter to Blizzard. Blizzard, please put more Africans in the game. Okay, I will be very happy if you do that. And
Not just Africans, just like people from Congo, people from Nigeria.
Yeah, please don't put in a character whose description is just like he's from Africa.
And I'm pretty sure they do that because they've done a good job with the Brazilian, and we have like similar stereotypes.
They are pretty good about that.
And they've been so far. So please don't screw it up.
I'm pretty sure they wouldn't screw it up. But I mean, I think that right now they're just thinking that wouldn't sell very well, or that they would get a lot of flack if they made a character who was like kind of an African stereotype. Because like, let's get real, a lot of Overwatch characters are stereotypes, and I think that's kind of okay because I think that's okay because they're doing the MOBA thing where every character is a fundamental thing and then exaggerate like 10 times over. Like I'm from Texas, and you're not going to hear me complaining about stereotyping McCree, because I think McCree is fucking awesome. And yeah, he is totally a stereotype. That is not what Texans are like at all, but it's fine because he's cool. So I think that if they had an African character who was as much of an African stereotype as McCree is a Texan stereotype, I think they would. But whatever. They're a big game company, and they have the power to change cultures by taking that first step. And I think that they should.
All right.
Sorry, I just kind of rambled for a long time.
That's
not
okay.
rambling. Like I had a thing to say, and I said the fuck out of it.
Yeah. You go, girl.
Sorry about the dogs in the background.
Yeah. I think this is a good note to end on.
I think this is a good note to end on as well.
Well, see you guys, and thanks for listening to us ramble about diversity in video games.
Yes, if you care at all, by the way, if you're a person who's listening, please go into the comments and tell us that we suck, and tell us why we suck and how we can suck less. Because we're new to this, and we're trying, but we're gonna make mistakes, and you dear internet commentator, are very good at noticing mistakes, and so please tell us why we suck and how we can improve. And also, if you want to hear us ramble about something that you care about, tell us what that thing is, and then we'll ramble.
And also, be sure to let us know if we did something good as well.
Yeah, that as well. I mean, come on, let's not get too cocky. I'm sure we didn't do that many things, right?
Yeah. Well,
someone's gonna comment, and they're like, well, I guess you guys did figure out how to put it up on YouTube, so you got that going for you.
Yeah, the sympathy, just like the sympathy comments.
That sympathy comment of just like, I'm so sorry. Okay, great. And also tell us what you think about the whole Overwatch thing and diversity. Like, do you think that Blizzard is stereotyping too much? Do you think that they should have more African characters in their game? Let us know what you think, because we like thinking about these things. If we didn't, we would not be making this video right now.
Well, toodles.
Bye, Mom.